Good afternoon and welcome to our 5th annual Commonwealth Sustainability Week and today's webinar, The Circular Economy, University of Pittsburgh's Mascaro Center for Sustainable Innovation. I'm Matt Reese, GreenGov Deputy Director. The GreenGov Council was established as the Commonwealth agency's Lead by Example program, promoting energy conservation and sustainable governance. Our charter sets forth performance goals for Commonwealth agencies, ultimately steering the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions within our portfolio. Specific goals focus on annual energy reductions, high-performance buildings, fleet electrification, and the use of renewable energy. Visit the GreenGov website to see how agencies are meeting these performance goals. You'll find a host of information including agency certification checklists, past webinar recordings, and portfolio tools that may assist you in developing and achieving your own performance goals. Our Sustainability Week events and following Sustainability webinar series are co-hosted by Sustain Penn State. Sustain Penn State is responsible for the development of strategic programming and partnerships, such as this one with the GreenGov Council, that help Penn State leverage its resources and promote sustainability throughout our Commonwealth. Next, I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers, Dr. Melissa Billick. Dr. Billick is a professor of civil and environmental engineering and co-director of the Mascaro Center for Sustainable Innovation at the University of Pittsburgh. Her research applies systems-level thinking and life cycle assessment to the built environment and healthcare with a focus on advancing circular economy principles to address global waste challenges. She co-developed Pitt's Master of Science in Sustainable Engineering, the university-wide undergraduate certificate in sustainability, and the PhD program in circular economy. Dr. Billick also leads in institutional climate efforts, including Pitt's greenhouse gas inventories, and serves on the Chancellor's Sustainability Council. Dr. Gutz Faeser. Dr. Faeser is a professor of chemical and petroleum engineering at the University of Pittsburgh, a Mascaro Center Fellow, and director of the Circular Economy Program. He earned his PhD from the Fritz Haber Institute in Berlin and has held research positions within leading institutions in Germany and the US before joining the University of Pittsburgh. His research in catalytic reaction engineering focuses on process intensification and decarbonization, with applications in clean energy and sustainable chemical production. Dr. Faeser's work continues to circular economy goals by developing advanced reactor technologies that reduce waste and improve resource efficiency in industrial systems. Thank you, speakers, for joining us today, and I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Matt, for the very nice introduction and for the kind invitation to present on our Circular Economy program at the Mascaro Center at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm excited to be here, and I will share with you once I figure out how to share the screen here. There we go. Does this work? All right. I'm excited to share with you a little bit about the circular economy related research and education that we do at the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm not quite sure how familiar everybody in this audience is with the concept of circular economy. So allow me to first introduce what circular economy is and how it relates to sustainability. So this is our economy in a slightly simplified view. So we start by extracting resources from the earth, producing materials and products from there, distributing it, consuming it, and in the end, we waste and dispose of it. In this way, we add actually currently about 100 billion tons of new materials into the economy each year. That is roughly 1 ton each month for each of us. So in this linear make waste economy, more than 90% of materials are lost, wasted, or discarded after or often even before their first use. Clearly, that's not sustainable. And the main flaw really in the system is that it builds on an implicit assumption that we have infinite resources at our disposal and that Earth can limitless regenerate itself from this use or abuse. So what can we do about this? the first response to this challenge, you can call it sort of sustainability 1.0, was given by the recycling economy, right? So the idea here is that we take part of this waste at least and reuse it as a supply, as a feed for our economy. So we reduce the input and we reduce the waste. And rethink really what is waste, or what waste really means overall. This is good and fine, but it has a number of issues. And the main issue really revolves around the fact that recycling very typically means downcycling. That means we recreate materials and products that don't have the full functionality anymore. So after only a few cycles, they again turn into waste, and therefore we simply delay the problem that we had before. An implicit or inherent problem here is also that we start only after the problem had been created, right? We start at the end. And nevertheless, this whole concept introduced an important concept into the sustainability thinking, really this idea of a circle, of a circularity in the whole thing. And this is really where circular economy then picks up. It basically takes systematically this idea of a circular intervention and applies it throughout the entire life cycle of materials and products from cradle to grave. So the basic concept is to keep materials and products, once we have generated them, in use for as long as possible. This really means that we need to start from the inception of these products by adding an intentional design for circularity. And this really also extends beyond the technological aspects then to business and law and regulatory aspects such as supply chain, business model, use cases, and similar things. Now, this whole idea of the circular economy really has been built and proposed predominantly by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, sort of the major force globally to push this forward. They have also developed a very illustrative butterfly diagram, of which I'm only showing one half here. And I'll try to illustrate some of the basic concept and these basic loops that they introduce with this diagram. So the first inner loop here is the loop in which we really try to maximize the utility of a product through shared resources. We're probably all familiar with car share services like Uber and Lyft that really maximize the use that we get out of any individual single car. A related extension of this then goes to the so-called product as a service. For example, here shown with the example of Philips, or now Signify, that introduced a pay-per-lux model. That means light as a service, where you shift from selling lighting products to selling lighting solutions as a service to customers. And then extending from there, modularity and the right to repair assure that the lifetime of a product is extended as much as possible by enabling repair and replacement of only those parts of a product that need that service. One example shown at the bottom left here is the Fairphone in the Netherlands that designs smartphones that users can easily repair themselves, and where replacement parts such as batteries, screens, cameras are sold separately and extend the phone's lifespan and therefore reduce electronic waste. Furthermore, in this phone, nothing is glued together, so everything is designed for disassembly and repair from the very beginning. So this extension of the lifetime of a product extends then into the reuse and redistribution after its first use. And of course, we are all familiar with very old concept, established concept like used car market, secondhand clothing, or most of us hopefully don't throw away our printer ink cartridges anymore when they're empty, but simply buy ink and refill the cartridges over and over again so we can use them multiple times. And that ultimately leads into the concept of refurbishing and remanufacture. Right? The concept is really gaining momentum in industry, with examples being Caterpillar, that has their reman program, the remanufacturing components to original equipment manufacturer specifications, while incorporating the latest engineering updates at that point. So the remanufactured parts then re-enter the supply chain with like new quality and a warranty, often at a fraction of the cost, typically actually half of the cost of a new component or even less. Similarly, IKEA launched their buyback and resell program in 2022, which is now operating at most stores across the US and Europe and accepts thousands of their products for resale. So the products are returned, go through a detailed evaluation process, and then are sold as is, with only a small fraction that doesn't pass this evaluation ultimately going to recycling as a last resort. And that gets us to recycling really as the last resort within circularity or circular economy as well. It does remain an important, but really only the final step in the circular economy. So at this stage, we might now aim to completely disassemble products and materials into their constituents all the way down to the molecular level so that we can reassemble them with identical functionality as products that are basically indistinguishable from products made from virgin feedstocks. So there is no downcycling anymore. Examples include scrap metal, plastic waste, wood, and e-waste. And e-waste is really a fascinating example because it's not only the fastest growing and most complex waste stream in the world. In the US alone, we generate about 50 pounds of e-waste per person. The numbers, I believe, from 2022. But it actually remarkably contains now more than 100 times the amount of gold and an estimated 30 to 40 times the amount of copper per ton, more than actually fresh ore from which these metals are usually pulled. So this makes really a compelling case for, a compelling economic case for reuse of this waste stream ultimately. So really the overarching principle of the circular economy is to rethink how we are doing things, rethink how we produce, distribute, use, and reuse materials and products across their entire life cycle. And at the core of this is really the principle of designing things for circularity. And my colleague Melissa Bilek will now talk a little bit about how we are trying to teach that gospel through our Mascaro Center at the university. Melissa?
Thank you so much, Dr. Vaser. Good. Next slide, please. So it's so great to be here with you today. And I have the opportunity to co-direct the Mascaro Center for Sustainable Innovation with my colleague, Gina Kowalczyk, who I think she's on the call here today. And the Mascaro Center for Sustainable Innovation is really at the heart of Pitt's sustainability efforts on the academic side and on the engagement side of the university. And our mission is to co-create research, education, and engagement opportunities by fostering critical connections to solve the complex challenges facing our planet. It really what we're trying to do and what we are aiming to do is to create sustainable communities not only at the university, but at the region, at the state level, and around the world. Next slide, please. Like many of us on the call, we've had a pretty long sustainability journey. I won't go back all 20 years. I just want to make sure to call to mind a couple key points today. One, we would not be here, the Mascaro Center, without the strong support of our founder, Jack Mascaro, who had led the Mascaro Construction Company. And it was really a part of his vision to think about green construction and sustainability, probably way before many of us had even thought about it. So I always like to mention him and honor him and his legacy. If you look at the bottom portion of the timeline, I wanted to call to attention a couple key things that Götz has mentioned. The University of Pittsburgh really provides opportunities for its students to explore sustainability and learn more about sustainability at any point in their career with us at the university. So for example, any student can take and obtain an undergraduate certificate in sustainability. If you're interested in pursuing graduate work, we have an MS in sustainable engineering that that has been successful as well. And most recently, we've been doing work in circular economy. So our team developed a PhD program related to circular economy, where you study and research circular solutions, and you also do an internship. And we've expanded that to include a graduate certificate in sustainability in circular economy as well. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges we look at in the Mascaro Center for Sustainability are surrounded in these 5 different themes that we like to talk about. And they are led by really talented people like Guts. And as an example, Dr. Vaser is leading the regenerative solutions theme, and circular economy is one part of it. Dr. Tina Indo and public health is leading the thriving futures theme. And one of the areas that she's really been focusing on is engaging with communities and thinking about the voices of communities as we think about regional change. Another theme that we've have talent in is that theme is being led by Corey Zawacki and Justin Kitt. Their theme is related to resilient ecological systems. And my colleague, Dr. Ruth Mostern, she's a history professor, has been leading the work around environmental discourse. And of course, all of this is really the foundation of all of this is the education and engagement. And Dr. David Sanchez has been doing this work, and he's been doing amazing work thinking about and growing the sustainability programs that we have created. Next slide, please. So I wanted to go through a couple of engagement examples. Some of you may be wondering, how could we potentially work with the Mascaro Center or the University of Pittsburgh? And so I tried to develop some of these, and these are also a part of our annual report that was just issued 2 days ago. One of the ways that we engage with external stakeholders is through a sustainability capstone course that's led by Dr. Sanchez and Dr. Kurzman. In this course, and you could see a number of different organizations that we have worked with, really pairs up, the challenge that the organization is facing with a multidisciplinary student team, and you work with that team throughout the whole semester to develop sustainable solutions. And we've had great success with the capstone course. Next slide. Another example, kind of similar in some ways to the capstone course, but this one's over the summer. And this is where the summer students will then work on sustainability problems. Typically, they work with faculty members, but we have worked with external organizations in the past. The students also do different service projects over the summer. For example, you could see some of the projects that we did last summer, working at the food bank and also Global Links. Next slide, please. One of the things that we would love the opportunity is to engage with folks that are on this call. And actually, one of the reasons why we became connected with this is we were able to meet with David and Joyce and learn more about what was happening at the Department of Environmental Protection. And David joined us at the University of Pittsburgh and learned more about Pitt and some of the work that we're doing, and also had the opportunity to meet with students too, and to think about what opportunities are available for their career pathways. We also recently had the opportunity to meet with the Environmental Protection Agency leaders last, I think it was October. And so that, again, is another example of some of the lectureships and people that we've sponsored at the university. Next slide, please. One of the things that we're super proud of, and one of the reasons why we are here today, is that we've been able to significantly grow our sustainability offerings. And one of the reasons why we've been able to do that is because both the Pitt students and also the faculty and staff have been really interested in exploring and advancing their sustainability knowledge. And so you can see some of the numbers that we have here, but related to what the work that the students are doing. We're over 650 students that we've been able to talk to during their first year experience. We see that as a key point and an entry into the students' sustainability journey. At the same time, we've been working with faculty and staff to develop their knowledge related to sustainability as well. Next slide, please. And of course, we're here today to talk about the Circular Economy Program. And our vision was really to embed circular design principles into the graduate curriculum through an innovative training program. And so we've developed this program that aims to enable students at Pitt, and then hopefully even more students and more professionals around the world, to really become experts in circular economy principles, to ultimately create circular, sustainable products and service solutions. Next slide. There are three main core pillars of the program. You're going to hear mainly about the academics and research today, but the academic piece was developing the PhD program that specializes in circular economy and the graduate certificate. And the other part of the pillar is really thinking about how can we take what we know, or how can we really take the current products from a linear to a circular model. And also something that's really important to the work that I do, how can we engage the community so that the community is a part of the solutions? We always have an eye towards commercialization, and also thinking about how we can seed different mechanisms to reach these goals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gut Spacer, and he's going to talk more about our circular economy program.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Melissa. The status of our circular economy program, again, we are very proud of that. Melissa already introduced it, but we believe it's the first graduate program on circular economy in the United States. It's a cohort-based training program. So that's a really important part of the training program, to bring the students together in cohorts across different departments, but again, connecting with each other, learning from each other. And that really integrates circular economy research with the training experience. So it includes two main legs for the students. One is the coursework. It's a strongly transdisciplinary coursework. I'll get into that in a moment, in a little bit more. And that is then coupled with an internship that students are doing in industry to prepare them for the career pathways. Again, the vast majority of our PhD students do go into industry afterwards. So we want to make sure that they really already during their training phase at the university learn how to translate, get exposed to the industry environment and learn how to translate these principles into an industrial setting. Going on. There we go. Okay, so here is our current cohort of circular economy fellows. Starting on the left upper hand, Lakshmi Anantha Botla in chemical engineering, working with her advisors Carl Johnson and Chris Wilmer, really on sort of the fundamental electronic structure level for reaction mechanisms in plastic waste recycling. Santiago Ortiz, working with Dr. James McCone and myself in chemical engineering, on ways to extract hydrogen from current waste streams in the chemical industry. Rafaela Gonçalves, working with Dr. Melissa Bilek in civil and environmental engineering on the Circularity Assessment Protocol in the built environment, and Dr. Bilek will talk more about that in a few moments. Hawa Ardero is a starting fellow. She will join actually next spring. In material science, working with Paul Ohodnicki in material science, looking at circularity on steels and metals in the energy sector. Colin Gray, working with Dr. Fusen Fullerton in chemical engineering on the design of biodegradable polymeric materials that spontaneously disintegrate when in contact with salt water, to fight, again, the pollution of oceans with plastic materials. And last but not least, Cornelius Dosogila, working with, again, myself and Dr. Masnadi in chemical engineering, where we're looking at basically upcycling plastic waste and similar feedstocks into battery level graphite materials to connect circular economy really with the transition to a cleaner energy technology overall. So it spans really a very broad range of different applications across circular economy, sustainability, and clean energy topics here. In addition to this research-focused fellows program, we developed a circular economy certificate that just last fall went live. It's open to graduate students at Pitt across any department in principle. And in particular, we aim to lower the entry barrier by creating the certificate to enable graduate students from all engineering programs to acquire the certificate with basically no or minimal additional coursework. We have been working with the different departments to make that possible, and we're adding, by now we have 5 departments that actually enable their students to do this as part of their master's or PhD programs. Beyond that, it is also open to post-baccalaureate and post-professional students from basically anywhere. So the certificate has, again, the 3 required core courses that also the fellows have to take. The first one is a course created and taught by Dr. Bilek for this program here, Design for Circular Economy. So that's really the core, introducing the students into this design thinking that is at the core of circular economy. The second one is life cycle assessment, taught by my colleague Vikas Khanna in our civil engineering department. So that's basically teaching the students now that they have designed their materials for circularity to really assess how well did I do, right? I mean, am I really achieving the goals, the sustainability goals that I'm aiming for? And then the third one is the course that Dr. Bilek already talked about briefly before, our sustainability capstone course, where the students now come together in small teams and work on real-life problems that are supplied by industry and organizations in the region, so they can really apply what they have learned in the classroom to a practical problem. These 3 core courses are now supplemented by 2 non-engineering electives. So these are electives that the students have to take outside engineering, typically in either the business school or the law school, but it's open to basically also suggestions and the individual interest by the students. And the idea is that if you really want to have an impact in circular economy, you need to know more than the core engineering knowledge. You need to understand how changes in supply chain, regulatory constraints, and things like that affect the deployment of these technologies. So courses that we offer through our law school and our business school within the program would be, for example, consumer behavior, global supply chain management, environmental law, and similar courses. And what we are finally in the process of developing and to expand the reach of the program even beyond, again, our region and certainly our campus, is an online certificate that will enable basically anyone, anywhere in the world to take the certificate, circular economy certificate, and we hope to be able to deploy that by next summer. That's our time scale right now. All right, and with that, I'll pass it back to Dr. Bilek, who will talk more in detail about the amazing Circularity Assessment Protocol that she has been developing jointly with her colleague, Jenna Jambak. Melissa, the table is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'll just say, Gus was showing the pictures of the Circular Economy Fellows, and we've worked so hard to develop the program, and just to see the really talented students and the diversity of what they're working on is truly it's magical to get to this point. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the research we've been able to do. This particular project, and we're doing a lot of different types of research in circular economy, and I wanted to highlight this one in particular because I felt like for this crowd, one, it's more research and action, but the other thing that's really important is we may have the opportunity to work with you in your community or in your city to actually apply the Circularity Assessment Protocol. And I really want to stress the importance of my colleague Jenna Jambak. She had the original idea to develop the Circularity Assessment Protocol, or we like to say CAP for short. She's a National Geographic Fellow. She's also a MacArthur Fellow, and she's worked deeply with the communities that I'm going to talk about and share. Next slide, please. So one of the things that is really interesting about circularity is that at the end of the day, oftentimes when you think about what's happening with waste, it's our cities and our communities that are bearing the brunt of waste management. And I think that's especially true in the US because of our divided waste management structure across different states. And so on the bottom part, you can see what's happening in some of these communities. We're having mismanaged waste. So for example, in the bottom left corner, you can see probably like illegal dumping that's occurring. Or you can see what's happening when you're having demolition of a building, and what is the opportunity to rethink the reuse of those materials. So those are some of the things that's happening, that we're seeing happening. But at the same time, we can envision what a circular economy could look like. So for example, in the top right corner, it might look like developing a certain sort of a composting system for your community. It might look like rethinking what the reuse of different metals or materials might look like, and how your community can then leverage the value of those materials for other purposes. Maybe investing in libraries, or maybe investing in other things that are really important to your community. So with the heart, we start to look at things like, what can the circular economy look like in our city? But we also want to think about, what doesn't the circular economy look like? Next slide, please. So Jenna and I we were seeing that there was this need to come up with circular economy solutions. But what we found is that the cities really needed capacity to address circularity. And on top of that, and some of the work that Dr. Vaser was talking about, is there was this fundamental issue in reaching circularity. And there was a mismatch that was happening between material use and design, and ultimately end of life and rethinking circular economy. So again, cities and communities bear the burden of material management, but they have little data or input in the design of those materials, and ultimately the decision making that can occur. Next slide, please. So I'm introducing the concept that's called sphericity. And so sphericity is a circularity movement and platform for cities and communities. And what we're trying to do is to collect data and connect communities. And again, this was funded, this project is being funded by the National Science Foundation, their Convergence Accelerator program. And so we really are developing these new concepts and thinking about what translational research looks like in partnerships with universities and other communities. And so what we've developed as a part of this is the name sphericity. Next slide, please. So we, at the heart of sphericity, it can be tough to say, believe that cities and community members have the right to optimize their own circularity. Next slide, please. And so what we've been doing is we've been further developing something called the Circularity Assessment Protocol. And the Circularity Assessment Protocol is a hub and spoke model, and it has the different spokes that you can see. So for example, the input spoke, the community spoke, the material and product design spoke, the use spoke, collection, end of cycle, and also leakage. And each of those different elements have robust quantitative and qualitative aspects that the research team works with communities to further develop. We've implemented the Circularity Assessment Protocol in 56 cities and in 16 countries, and we've worked with a number of different partners. And Jenna has led these efforts, and she's been working on this for a number of different years. When Jenna and her team developed the CAP for short, they largely focused on plastics, in some extent on biodegradable materials. What our research team at the University of Pittsburgh is doing is we have expanded the CAP to include the built environment. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the construction and demolition CAP, or the C&D CAP for short, took the same conceptual design as the plastic CAP and transformed it into what would be applicable to construction and demolition. The first thing that we did is we worked on customer discovery. So we did a number of different interviews of stakeholders to further develop what would be important for the C&D CAP. So we talked to people like government officials. I went to different material recycling facilities. We went to different C&D waste sorters. So we talked to a number of different people, architects, engineers. And what we came up with was this redesigned CAP. It includes, and you'll see the similarity, in ours in particular, it includes things like C&D analytics. So the one thing that I'm really interested in is if our cities are growing, does that lead to additional construction growth? But if our cities aren't growing and we're losing population, what does that look like in terms of what the construction trends truly should look like? We also are spending a lot of time on C&D emissions. So for example, we're looking at illegal dumping that's happening related to C&D waste. Next slide, please. If you can hit the button. One of the elements of the CAP is that we have developed, Jenna and her team have really worked on developing the digital platform. And so all of the information and the data that we collect as a part of the CAP is available to the public. And so this then allows for cities to go in and track their performance over time. It also then allows for cities to compare against other cities. And what we have been learning is that this information is really important for different applications that cities apply for. So for example, if someone is applying for like a government to government grant, this data could then be utilized by different cities in order to bolster their chances. Next slide, please. One of the things that we've quickly learned is that it was really difficult for the research team to continue to conduct CAPs in different cities around the world. And so this phase of the project, Jenna's worked with a team called Global Tinker and developed a sphericity training platform. And so if your community or if your city is interested in this, you can take the training and you can learn how to conduct a CAP. And this is kind of in the 1.0 version. So if you've ever taken an online course, it's really similar to what the online course would look like. And this was a big part of the project that we've been working on. Next slide, please. The other important part of the CAP is how we're tracking the data. And one of the apps that's being utilized is called the Debris Tracker. And you can actually download the Debris Tracker yourself. And if you're ever, out in the world and you see litter, you can track that. And at the last point, and in the ocean or any kind of water body, the last time I checked, there were 6.5 million data points of litter that's been tracked over time. So again, this data is going into the portal and it's helping to inform some of the suggestions related to circularity. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show this one in particular because you can go on the website and you can see some of the reports and recommendations that have been generated through the CAP process. Next slide, please. And so this is one example of snippets from the reports. This is the Circularity Assessment Protocol that was completed in Santiago, Chile. And what you can see here, some of the visuals that are in the report, and also some of the recommendations that are made. An important part that I didn't have the opportunity to talk about is that stakeholders are a part of this process, and the community members are interviewed as well. And so these recommendations are made both with quantitative data, with qualitative data, but with also community input over time. Next slide, please. And so lastly, what I'll say is, we've taken this concept of the Circularity Assessment Protocol, we further developed it, and we've, as a part of the PIT team in particular, we've worked to expand it into the sector of construction and demolition. And so now what we're doing is we're using a systems of systems approach, and we're taking the concept of the Circularity Assessment Protocol, and we're working with different networks that have even broader networks, and we're working with those networks to further expand in different markets and different demands. So for example, Jenna and her team, they're working with MRCTI, which stands for the Mississippi River City and Towns Initiative, and the caps are being applied through that network. I'm working with something called the 2030 districts, and we are applying the C&D cap to aspects of the 2030 districts. The one cap that we are almost completing is in Erie. And so with that, we hope that you can see that the CAP has some great value, and we're always looking for new folks to work with. So if you are interested in potentially exploring what that looks like, please let us know, and we would love the opportunity to talk about doing a CAP maybe in your community. Next slide. And here's information of where you can reach both me. My name's Melissa Billick, and my colleague Götz Faeser. And with that, we'll take any questions.
And thank you so much, speakers. We will now stop the recording.